Welcome to Backstage with Becca with special guest, English Bernhardt. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca. On this episode, this North Carolina native participated in the first workshop for the Pasek Paul Levinson project, now known as Dear Evan Hansen, went on the road with the first national tour of If Then, and can currently be seen on the tour of Mean Girls, where she plays leading role Cady Heron. Please welcome English Bernhardt. So, first of all, how have you been? It's been a crazy time. Tour has been back up. You're leading a tour.
Yes, it is. You're sweet to ask. I'm good. I feel like I can confidently say that now. I think at the beginning of both the tour revamp and also me taking over the tour, I was very just kind of overwhelmed. It was crazy to be back in the swing of things. Then when I took over, it was very much an adjustment of how my routine was kind of shifting and what it was like to do the show 8 times a week when I wasn't used to that at all. But I feel like now I'm in a place where I'm like, all right, I know how to do my routine. I know what it takes to do the show. I have a little bit more freedom here and there. And I feel like I've kind of settled into it, which is a really nice feeling. So I'm good. And we're currently in Baltimore, Maryland, and it is beautiful. I actually never been here, but the pier and all on the water is so gorgeous. And the theater is this beautiful old theater, which we love, of course. Anytime we play somewhere that has like intricate design or chandeliers or some character. So it's good, but tell me where you're based. Where are you calling from?
So right now I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm like kind of all over the place. I go to the West Coast, East Coast, but mostly Dallas right now.
Amazing. So Dallas was actually my first city where I took over in
Dallas.
Yes. So Dallas will always have a special piece of my heart.
It's a great city. It's hot right now.
Oh, but absolutely. And we're about to go to Atlanta next week, and I don't think people are realizing how hot it's about to be there as well. But it is an incredible city.
Yeah, the heat this summer is crazy. It's I haven't seen this since like 2011.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Insane. So have you always known that you wanted to be a theater performer? I mean, you've had a ton of experience so far, and you're very young.
I don't know if I knew that I want, when I first started, I thought I wanted to be a dancer, like prima ballerina. I started in dance. I did ballet, I did pointe, I did all the things. And then I just kind of would sing around the house. But I didn't really know, about Broadway. I didn't know that there was such a world of theater. So then when I finally kind of merged the two, and my parents were like, okay, let's get this girl in some voice lessons. And she loves to dance. Maybe this will be something she'll like. When I did my first show, which I think I was, 8 years old, I did The Music Man at North Carolina Theater in Raleigh, where I grew up. And I was very much bit by the bug then. I think all of it, like the wearing your microphones and the sits probe and the costumes and the backstage banter and the whole life I just loved. So I think from that point on, yes. And what was really amazing, and I'm so fortunate, is that I feel like a lot of people either have the training grounds or the support, but it's hard to find all of it, to have the training grounds, to have the support, but also to have the networking and the connections that give you hope that you can make it. Because you know what I mean? A lot of talented people think, I'm great in my local small town, but how am I ever going to get outside of this? And so growing up performing at North Carolina Theater, they bring in actors, directors, music directors from New York to work on their local productions. So starting when I was 8, I was working with all of these people that had worked on Broadway and were these huge names that kind of gave me this hope and light at the end of the tunnel that they're doing it and this is what I want to do and we're working together now, so why can't it be me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate, and still am, to have the most incredibly supportive family and friends. And so I think having that taste of it, and at such a high caliber and with people that had made it in the business, it made me think I can do it. Why not? So that, it started pretty young, and then I couldn't get enough. I wanted to be in all the shows. when it was time to go to college, it was like, there's no brainer. There's no way I'm going for anything else. So yeah, I just kind of stayed on from there. But my family, I come from a very musical family. I'm the only one that's in theater, but my mom sings and was in beauty pageants growing up.
Ooh.
My dad sings and was like a boy choir, church choir, plays the piano. My brother sings, also plays the piano. He thought he wanted to be a conductor for a little bit.
Ooh.
So there's lots of music and singing in our household, whereas I know some people are like, I don't know where this talent came from. No one in my family, everyone in my family sings. We're very much the Von Trapp family singers, but I'm the only one that went theater, so trying to keep it interesting.
I was gonna say, so road trips are fun.
Absolutely. Road trips are a great time. Any sort of like church where there's a communal sing along. Oh, it's like a 4-part harmony. We have got it. Yeah.
They ask your family. They're like, hey, we need like a family of singers.
Exactly. And it's so funny because anytime we have friends or girlfriends or boyfriends or people that come hang out with us, and go to say a church service or in a road trip and we start singing, it always catches them off guard a little bit. And they're like, oh God, I'm so self-conscious. And you're like, no, not at all. But we don't think anything of it. Of course, everyone loves to sing, but it is very funny.
Yes, singing in the car is the best. So
Totally. Car, shower, yes.
everywhere. Yes. And what a great first show to be on, The Music Man, because like you're around a ton of kids.
It's true. And that's the other thing. I wasn't the only one, so it was special to be able to kind of have that community. And honestly, some of them I'm still friends with today, but then also having these huge heavy hitters in Harold Hill and Marion that they brought from New York, that it was really special, like you said, to have both, to have kind of friends that are going through it with you the same age, these kids, but also to show you that there are shows out there that have roles for kids, So then I wanted to be in like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat and Matilda and all the kid shows.
Yes, and like Annie and stuff.
Of course.
Yes. The best. It's so, I mean, how cool. So what was the first like NYC theater show you ever saw?
Okay, the first show I ever saw was The Lion King, and I saw it with my mom on Broadway, and it still to this day is one of my favorites. It's so beautifully done, and it is so magical with those costumes and headpieces and the music that everyone knows and loves and grew up with. And you know what? I actually haven't seen it since. So that is one of those that I feel like I need to revisit, go see it again because it still rings true. Like it's held up so incredibly well. So the first show I ever saw was Lion King.
Ooh, I just actually resaw it recently, like in October, and I hadn't seen it since I was like 8.
How was it?
It was so good, like just as good as it probably was when I was a little kid.
It's just magical. The writing is so brilliant, and that's what just goes to show you when the writing is so good, it stands the test of time. And it's, I have a couple friends that have done the tour before, and they just, I mean, everyone that is a part of it is so incredibly talented. They keep bringing these huge names in, and it's just, the material is so good. I feel like it won't age. It's going to be out there running forever.
Yes, hopefully.
Yes.
Because the kids need that inspiration.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree. And to see something from the screen to the stage that translates so well, because, sometimes they try and it doesn't always work as well, or it doesn't have the same effect. But I think you're so right. And the story and the heart of Lion King, we need it. We need it.
Yes. So I read that you did ballet at City Ballet in North Carolina.
Yes.
How did ballet help you become like a well-rounded performer on stage? Because I feel like you have to have a lot of expression with ballet.
I love this question so much. And I don't think anyone has ever asked me this.
Really?
And you're so right. You're so right. Ballet, especially, you have to be so in tune with your body because so much of it is about being pulled up in your core and balancing, and to then be so graceful with your movements. Everything else has to be solid as a rock, but you can't look it. You know what I mean? It's like you're a delicate swan, but paddling like crazy underneath water. So it's just, it has served me, I think, more than I realized it would, in that I was very aware of my body and kind of in my body and able to, let that show in other types of choreography, but also just in how I kind of carry myself. A lot of times people will say, and I've seen it happen to me as well as others, workout instructors or people will just look at you and say, "Are you a dancer?" They're like, "Why?" And they say, "Oh, I can just tell, the way that you stand, the way your posture, the way you hold your shoulders back." And so it has helped in terms of vocally, in terms of my singing, because I feel like I was trained to kind of hold my shoulders back. And so you breathe through your diaphragm and you know what I mean? Everything works in tandem. So that has helped. And then as I've stepped into roles that, even if they're not incredibly dance heavy, because I did used to work a lot more in ensembles and a lot of choreography, and I've kind of shifted away with that, at least with Mean Girls. But Regina George, that I used to cover, Regina's not really a dance heavy role, but she's so meticulous about every move that she makes. Exactly. And she's so sexy and beautiful. And so much of that is how she goes about the world in her body, and everything looks effortless. And there is a big number where there are some lifts and things like that. And with lifts, when they say, "Hey, I need you to put more weight on this side and I need you to give me more so we balance it out." Having come from a dance background, I feel like I understand that and can kind of tap into that easier. And so it's been really, really great. And I miss it a little bit. I chat with a lot of our dancers in the show because some of them didn't know that I danced at all because they've only know me from Mean Girls. And I laugh. I'm like, "You guys, I thought I was going to be one of you. Like, I thought I was going the full dance train. And then as I grew up and was like, ooh, these people can out dance me. And I love to sing. And maybe this is more my type of part." But yeah, it's been nice to kind of still incorporate a little bit of that. And truth be told, I should still be in dance class and just dust off the cobwebs a little bit. But you're so right. The ballet is just that kind of like foundation that helps posture, breathing, dance, lifts. It really has taken me a long way. So even though I don't really use that skill as much anymore, I am so grateful that I put those years in because it is paying off now.
I mean, and I'm sure you still have like the muscle memory and everything. So if you go into like a dance call, they're
Of
like,
course.
"Hey,
Right.
like,
Absolutely. And some things are easier to kind of click back into than others in terms of styles, of course, of dance.
yeah,
But you're absolutely right. And I know some of the best dancers that I know still go to ballet class and are like, "No, no, no, no. All you need to keep brushing up on are the basics, the fundamentals, because those are what are most important. Everything else you kind of build on top of." But if you have that muscle memory, if you have that core, if you have that body muscle alignment, everything else kind of falls into place after that. So it has been really helpful. I love this question. Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's what. Thank you. I mean, that's what I was like. That's a really like. I need to ask that question because
Yeah,
ballet has a lot to do with performing,
it's
dancing.
true.
Like, it really helps on
It's
stage.
so true.
So I want to ask. You were in high school. You did the Jimmy Awards. I saw.
Yes,
And that just recently happened again. That's like a huge, I feel like it's getting bigger every year.
I
Huge
completely agree.
show, huge
Yes,
deal. What was it like getting to participate in that and basically make your Broadway debut
right
during that
on the
time?
Mince Golf with the Lion King
Yeah.
coming up. It was amazing, and I think you're absolutely right. It does seem to get bigger every year, and I will say that I didn't know. I was not aware when I did it of how much of an incredible opportunity and platform that it is for these young performers. And my mom is actually the one, always give it up to mom, that heard about this, and it wasn't really well known, at least in my school growing up in North Carolina, the local competition that then leads to the Jimmys. And so it wasn't really a big thing. And I was a senior in high school and very much just ready to be graduated and on to college and not wanting to put any effort into some other thing. And my mom said, "English, I think this is a really good opportunity. I really think you should apply. You never know if you're going to win, but this could be huge."
Yeah.
And sure enough, of course, she was right. And so I won a local competition, which led to the Jimmy Awards. And I remember the first day I got there just thinking, holy cow, not only are these people the most talented people I have seen, but people my age that are just like me and they get it and they're as crazy about theater as I am. And it was unbelievable. And just the people that they brought in to be our voice coaches and speak to us during lunches, and the judges, the whole thing was very, very surreal. And it's crazy because it's a mix between excitement, but also stress. I mean, it is it's intense and it happens really fast. It's this 1 week, couple
Reversible.
days, and it's really competitive and everybody wants to win and everybody knows that the stakes are high because there are these incredible judges and people that will see you. So, at the beginning, it kind of feels like summer camp. And then there are moments that it gets really intense and you feel like you're on American Idol. And then you realize you're in New York. And at the end of the day, it's all for the experience and the opportunity. But it is a huge deal. And so everybody wants to do well in front of these people that they know, we'll see later on down in their career. So it's amazing. So I just remember it hitting me in waves of being, this is so fun. This is so exciting. Holy cow, this is so scary. How am I going to keep up with these people? I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm in New York. I want to move to New York. And they take you to see a Broadway show one night, which is really, really special. And then you eat dinner at Sardi's, you go to the show, and there's something so magical about that. They're so smart because it's these kids that are so hungry for this life and this career and are so talented. And so that just feels like the pinnacle. You know what I mean? You're in the thick of Times Square. It's this dream that you all want. And to see a show and to see the people doing it and sit in the audience and think, I can do it. I'm with these people that we can do it. We can be on that stage. And you're with these people that are lifting you up to help get you there. It's so incredible. And it's just an unbelievable organization and, phenomenon that they have grown. That is so fantastic. And if anything, I'm upset with myself that I didn't do it sooner, but I'm thankful for my mom. And, it's like this, even now, people will say to me all the time, oh my gosh, I heard you did the Jimmy Awards. Are you a Jimmy's kid? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I'm very, very proud to be. And it's neat. Our girl actually, Jasmine Rogers, who just joined us, Gretchen, she did the Jimmy Awards too. And funny enough, I had gone back and helped Keisha, the choreographer, run some of the rehearsals, and Jasmine was in it at the time. So when she got cast in Mean Girls, I remember thinking, I know this girl. I recognize the face. And I look at her things and thought, oh my gosh, I met her at the Jimmy Awards. So it's a small world, but it's really such an incredible opportunity and one that I do not take for granted.
I mean, and what a networking experience too.
Completely. And honestly, networking across the board. Yes, of course, the talent agents that are the judges, but also the people, Keisha and Van Kaplan, and the people that are running the rehearsals, and the people that work at NYU or wherever they are hosting the rehearsals. Those kids may want to go to college there. Like, you just never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to encounter again, and to just be in that setting and be able to showcase your talent in such a safe, supportive environment with all of these heavy hitters in the industry it's unbelievable. It's really a special opportunity.
Do you remember like any guest that came in and gave like advice that you'll never forget?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Well, the biggest one was that my voice teacher was Julia Murney. And she just was so fast. And I remember being such a fan, of course.
Yes.
Let's watch Alphaba and let's talk all the things. And
yes.
she was just incredible. And I think the thing that I loved most about her was that sometimes when you're growing up, you're still treated like a kid. And especially from people that are in the industry, that to them you are a child. And Julia just never, ever, ever did it. And she was so kind and so supportive, but such a good constructive coach that I felt like she was genuinely helping me, but also cheering me on, and very much was like, hey, trust yourself. You know this, you have all the right tools. But it was the first time that I felt like I was on such a grand scale with these people of such a high caliber, but felt very much, she made me feel like an equal and not a child. So that was the biggest impact for me. And it was more so just incredible to have all these people come back that had made it and were still making it, and just be so normal and tell us the highs and lows, but that you can do it and keep trying. And this is what I learned, and every journey is different, but it was really special. And then I ended up seeing Julia years later at an invited dress rehearsal for some show on Broadway. And I remember thinking, I was with my friend, I'm like, do I go talk to her? This is crazy. This was years ago. There's no way she's going to remember me. And they're like, English, yes, absolutely go. Absolutely go. And I went up to her and I said, Julia, I'm English. Like, you definitely don't remember me, but you actually coached me at the Jimmy Awards. She was so kind. She's like, of course I do. Which, who knows if she does or not. I mean, let's be honest. She has probably coached so many people in her lifetime, but she was so incredibly nice and genuine and just the exact way I had remembered her from when she coached me. So it was a full circle moment. It was very cool.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Wicked, I have to ask, who was your first Alpha and Glinda in Wicked? Because I'm sure you've seen it.
Of course I have. So the first Elphaba I ever saw was Stephanie J. Block. And the most recent one I saw it was, I guess I saw it with, wow, I haven't seen, oh my gosh, I haven't seen Wicked. Honestly, I think it might have been Jenny DeNoia that was on.
Ooh.
And it's crazy because iconic, every single one of them. And now I've worked with 2 Elphabas in Mean Girls that wish I could just like do a time capsule and go back in time and see them because now I know them in this way.
Yes.
So you're right though. You always remember who you see just because it's such an epic role. So it was amazing. And similarly with Stephanie J. Block, I did a reading with her a few years later that just makes you realize like it's such a small industry. And I sat there like a fangirl trying to play it cool, thinking, holy cow, I saw you as Alpha. I died for you. You're so incredible. Another one of the kindest humans there is. But it just goes to show that it is a small network. It is a small business. It is so much about who you know and how you treat others and your reputation. And it's all connected. But it makes it exciting because it feels tangible. You know, it feels like I've worked with these people. We'll work together again. And they're doing the big thing. So why can't I? You know? Exactly. So it's exciting.
Exactly. So you went to Elon University where you got a BFA in musical theater.
That's right.
And I'm assuming since you did the Jimmy Awards in 2014 that you went to college like that year, and then you got IFTHN in 2015. So you were like a sophomore in college.
So I actually did not graduate Elon. So I did not end up getting my BFA. I was going for my BFA.
Okay.
But I left my freshman year actually because I was cast through the Jimmy Awards because of Tara Rubin, who had seen me. I found out later that was how that came about. Was cast in the workshop for the untitled Pasek Paul Levinson project, which we now know as Dear Evan Hansen. So I did the lab, I did the workshop, I did the lab, I did a lot of the recordings for the Out of Town, for the deluxe album. And then that is what led to the IFTHN tour because Michael Greif is the same director. So he kind of plucked me from those, put me on this. And then at that point I was like, well, I'm on tour at 19 for a year.
Yeah.
Don't know about school. We'll revisit it when I come back. But you're right. Your timeline is exactly right.
I was so impressed reading that. And I did read about the Dear Evan Hansen workshop, which how cool did you realize at the time what it would become?
I knew that it was special immediately. And I knew, I just knew, I knew the music, I everything about it was special and I was hooked. In terms of the people, I will fully admit to you, I didn't know anything. I didn't know who Michael Greif was. I didn't know who Alex Lacamoire was. Benj and Justin, didn't know how any of them were. I remember recognizing Ben Platt from, you know, Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
That was all I thought. And then here, I'm like, English, what a fool. That was one of the biggest rooms and best rooms I have ever been in. But I remember just watching him in this reading alone, just his production, his performance as Evan, even just standing with a music book in his hand and a stand was something I had never seen before. And I knew it was going to be magic. And so it was so cool to kind of watch that whole journey. And then I've had so many friends kind of in and out of the show and working on the show. So it's been a really special thing to be a part of and watch. And now as it's coming to a close, which I still cannot believe. I know. But the tour is still out. And you know what? All good
Okay.
things must come to an end. It's the next chapter. But no, in terms of the music, I remember I still have recordings on my phone, voice memos of old music that used to be in it, and Waving Through a Window, I remember was stuck in my head for
Yes.
months. And I remember I would go to all my friends and be like, you have to listen to this. I'm doing this workshop. You just have to listen to this song. And they're like, what are you talking about? What is it about? They didn't really get it. It's kind of hard out of context,
Your
but
window.
Wave Through Window was in there since the beginning. And we were all hooked. You're just like bobbing your head and tapping your foot. And when you
Yes.
know, you know. So it was brilliant. It was such a cool thing to be a part of and see kind of them work through it and make changes on the spot and build this beautiful show. It was really cool.
I was gonna say, what a special experience to like get to watch the changes happen like right in front of you.
Oh my gosh, and it's both exciting and it's stressful because you come in and there's 25 new pages and you're supposed to do a presentation that day and you're like, "Oh gosh, I'm not settled at all because now I have this whole new scene I've never seen before." So it's a crazy experience, and another one that I'm so fortunate I got to experience a workshop and a lab early on, because at least for my brief stint in college, they didn't teach me about that. So you don't really know. And until Smash, the TV show, came out that kind of shows a true representation of what that's like, I didn't really know. And so it was really incredible, like you said, to be able to see them make the changes and watch them talk through lines and alternate keys for songs and kind of tailor it to the actors, that ended up being set in stone forever and always.
Yeah.
So it was something that was so special, and to happen so early and so young and early in my career was amazing. I feel so lucky.
It's probably mind blowing, like to
Completely.
get that at like 19.
Oh my gosh, completely. And then to see it take off and tell people that I, had gotten to know them and was friends with some of them, and people are like, English, this is a huge deal. I'm like, no, it was just, it was a little week here and there, and it was so great. It's kind of this new show, but I just didn't realize at the time.
Yeah.
So exactly, very much, very surreal.
Wow. So I have to ask about If Then because it's like one of the most underrated shows
Yes,
ever.
yes.
And I never got to see it live. Your vibe so I can see it live because I love all the music. What was the process of like getting involved with If Then? And when you were told you were going on tour, I mean, how do you prepare to go on a national tour?
That's a great question. I was very unfamiliar with the show. I hadn't had the opportunity to see it on Broadway, and I didn't know, I couldn't find bootlegs. I couldn't find stuff material to watch. And so I remember just, working with a friend, an acting coach, and being like, you know what, maybe this is the best way to do it, because you can't have any sort of other outside influences affect your performance. It's essentially like a cold read. I have to just go into it and read it as I think I'm processing it and just hope that it's right. And listen to the music. And so I went in and auditioned and got a couple callbacks, and it was a pretty fast process all in all, based on what I've now experienced with other shows where it can be so drawn out and you're called in and in and in. So it was pretty quick. And when I got cast in the tour, I didn't really know what to think. I didn't know, how does this work? Do we bring all of our clothes? Do I bring winter clothes in, summer clothes? Do we ship things out? And was very green and very young and was the youngest in the cast by far. And I just remember chatting with people I had worked with in shows in North Carolina theater. Again, all kind of comes back to that, and saying, hey, I know you've done a tour before. What is this like? And they're like, okay, you're going to have a trunk and you'll have your suitcases, and of course you can ship things, and you'll see family and you'll trade things out. So it was very much a gamble, but I just remember overpacking in a lot of ways, underpacking other things. Of course, you think that you want like a blender and a hot pot and all these things for your kitchen, which I certainly did not use. I'm 19 years old. I just wanted to go to the cool coffee shops and was not home cooking eggs by any means. But some people do it, and it was a smart idea. But it was very much a trial and error, and I just remember, thankfully, anytime you're on a tour, especially a first national tour and an equity tour, they take incredible care of you. So your company managers basically say, here's where you go, here's your travel, here's your hotel. It's pretty much laid out for you, even to be so young and inexperienced. But we had a lot of older people on that show as well that were very much like parents and guides to me that kind of took me under their wing. And then once you get the hang of it, it can feel like paid vacation if you do it right. You get to explore these incredible cities, do the shows at night. And of course, there are challenges with living on the road. But I think the biggest adjustment was just getting used to the travel all the time, getting used to being in hotels, getting used to the trunk thing, the packing up on Saturdays, the coordinating of it all. But it made me grow up very fast. And, leaving school made me grow up, moving to New York made me grow up. But it was suddenly I had to be responsible for myself and meet deadlines and not miss the bus to the airport and all kinds of things. So it was an incredible experience to have at that age. And because I was with such incredibly like wise, experienced, seasoned performers, I always wanted to make a good impression. I never wanted to be the young kid that messed up the tour or made us all late for the airport. So I was on it. I was very, very on it. But it was incredible. And we toured for a year. And then now being on Mean Girls, it is so special for me to come back to some of these houses and remember the theater, remember the backstage, find my signature on the wall. So it's been really, really neat. Yes.
When you looked at the cast list for If Then after you got cast in it, were you like, oh my gosh? Like,
I remember thinking, because I knew that all of those leads did it on Broadway, but I remember thinking, like, it did not click with me that they were going to come on tour. It very much looked like, these were the people that did it, and these are the tour people, and we just happened to be on the same page. It did not click in my mind that, no, we're all doing it together. And I remember talking to my agent at the time, and she's like, no, I think they are, maybe not the whole stint, but I'm under the impression that they will be out there with you guys for the first 6 months or something. So you'll be in rehearsal with all of them. So that first day of rehearsal with Anthony and Adina and LaShawns, and it was, I was so nervous. I was so excited. I remember being so quiet and say a word. And then as we went on and got to know each other and felt more comfortable, every single one of them was so, so lovely. But I just remember I would sit in the wings during Adina's 11 o'clock number for every single show at 19 years old and just think, what is my life?
wow.
Like, wow, this is unbelievable. This is crazy. How am I here? How am I in a scene and a show with her, watching this absolute legend in our industry just sing her face off every single night? So it was magical, to say the very least.
I mean, and to have the opportunity to probably be like, hey, do you have any advice for me? Like on
And she had this amazing kind of trajectory that felt almost similar to mine, in that Michael Greif, this director, kind of took her under his wing. And she was very young when she did Rent with Michael.
Yes.
And so it was really neat to kind of make those parallels. And she saw it and was like, hey, Michael is a good one. He knows things. He trusts you, trust yourself. Like, he knows a good thing when he sees it. You're in the right place. Keep doing it. So it was so special to also be able to kind of hear about her starting out in her early days and how she got to where she is. So exactly. It was just, you could not put a price on any of it.
Yes, and speaking of Elphabas, you got to work with 2 Elphabas on that show too, so.
It's true. I'm telling you, I'm going through the Rolodex of some of these iconic ladies.
Yes. Is Elphaba like on the bucket list for you?
It's such a good question. I go back and forth because I want to say yes. Like, isn't it on everybody's bucket list when everybody died to be the green girl? But it is so funny because I almost fear that I was saying this, I've said this to Lindsay and I said this to MK. I truly think that now, having been a standby and knowing what that job is, I think that I would be a good standby for Glinda and Elphaba. Because truth be told, I kind of think I fall in the middle. Like, me as English personality wise, am very much more a Glinda. I love to get dressed up. I love to be very girly. vocally, I think I'm maybe more of an alphaba. So that's why I was like, maybe I would be a good standby, someone that probably could not do both of those 8 times a week. However, could tap into either one. And I'm pretty sure that's not a role that exists. However,
I don't think
I'm going to
so.
put it out there into the universe, Why?
Hey, if
It would be
Wicked is like,
exciting.
hey, we need to get like a standby for both Elphaba and Glinda,
I'm
then
your girl. I'm your girl.
yes, manifesting.
Exactly.
So before I get into Mean Girls, speaking of standby,
Yeah.
I want to ask, speaking of reviving If Then, why do you think If Then would be a good show to revive? Because I feel like so many people want it revived.
Yeah, I think because like you said earlier, it feels very underrated. I don't feel like it really had its full moment and got all that it deserves because it is such a beautiful piece of art and the music is gorgeous and the storyline is so thought provoking and so relevant that I just think that it would hit hard for a lot of people if it came back because like I said, it is just so relatable in so many ways. So I feel like it didn't necessarily get its moment. I feel like it didn't have its full lifespan. And so I think it would do well if it came back. And I think it would do well if it came back with Adina or if it was another just huge heavy hitter name. Because, yes, of course, that is the initial draw. But then you get to think through the story, you get to put yourself in their shoes, and you realize that it's so real. It's such a day to day questioning and situation we find ourselves in about just how we go through our lives that I think it would do well. I really do.
I mean, I would see it with anyone.
Me
They can
too.
cast some new. They can cast some new person, like, and be like, hey,
Absolutely.
open.
Absolutely. Some new star on the rise. It could be a good opportunity. I think you're right.
Yes. So I want to talk about Mean Girls because what a huge tour, and you
Yes.
started out as a standby for 3 roles on that tour.
Yes.
You went into audition. Did you know that that was like what you were going in for?
No. So similarly, we were talking about earlier that some audition processes are longer than others. When I first auditioned for Mean Girls, it was for the production that was just about to open on Broadway. And they called me in for the ensemble and to understudy Karen. And so I went in, I did this whole dance call. This dance is no joke. So I remember being like, holy cow, I do not know if I can keep up with some of these dancers, but I'm trying. And then I read Karen. And I just remember, of course I know the movie. I just remember thinking, this is not right. Like I am not, I don't think this is me. I don't think I'm a Karen. I was honored to be called in. And there was no world in which I was going to turn it down, of course, but it just didn't feel like it fit. And I feel like I could tell, they could tell. So that was kind of short lived. Fast forward to the tour, I get called in for the tour as Cady, just Cady. So I go in, I'm in my flannel, I've like got all my stuff prepared. And then on the spot in that audition, the associate director is like, sorry, bear with me. Do you know any Janis material? And I'm like, I saw Barrett Wilbur Reed do it on Seth Meyers, but that's about it. She's like, no pressure. I know this is so on the spot. Is there any way we could just have you sing through it? You can go to the piano, be with the music director at the time. She'll just help you sing through it. We'll just plunk through it. No pressure. I know this is crazy. We just want to hear it in your voice.
Goodness.
And I am shaking. I mean, my heart is beating on my chest.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I end up singing through I'd Rather Be Me. I think I read 1 or 2 scenes. They're like, thank you so much. We really appreciate you being such a team player. We know that was a lot. You did so well today. Thank you. So I'm leaving, have my coat on, my backpack on. I am halfway out the door and I hear them go, English? Can you come back? I turn around and she's like, can we have you look at some Regina material as well? And at this point, I mean, it felt like a joke. Here I'm doing a full one-woman show. I don't know any of this material. I'm not dressed the part. Like we're talking about Regina, she's so in her body. And here I'm in like Converse and a flannel trying to be Cady Heron. So we sing through, I don't remember if it was Someone Gets Hurt or World Burn, but crazy high belting. And the same scene that I had read earlier as Cady, they now had me read as Regina. So you just kind of like flip your brain on the spot. And then I left. And I remember calling my agents and calling my mom and being like, I don't know what just happened. Like I went in for Cady and I somehow kind of did a one-woman show. And I don't know if it went well, but I tried. And then I got my final call back and it was for the standby for all 3.
Oh my goodness. Were you aware that like on Broadway that there was like a standby that covered that many roles?
I knew there was a standby, but what's interesting is that on Broadway, it was different. It was 2 standbys and it was a different split. So there wasn't a role that I was going in for. They were very much creating this role for the tour. And so for that reason, I wasn't thinking that when they asked me to do those roles, because I thought, this part doesn't exist. It didn't occur to me that, of course, they could consolidate, they could shift, they could change it however they want to. And so I remember knowing that those roles were there, but didn't really connect the dots that this is maybe what they were looking for on the tour. And I had never been a standby. So, I knew what it meant in terms of what the job was, but in terms of what it's really like and having to kind of be a chameleon and shift between the three, I was very much just trying my best. And I remember in my final callback, Casey Nicklaw joking that I was doing a costume change because I was like, what do I wear? What in the world do I wear to this? And I remember, I think I wore white jeans and a pink shirt and a jean jacket and Converse. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be in flats for Cady and Janis and something kind of grungy. And then when they asked for Regina, I took my shoes off, I put heels on, I took my jacket off so you can see this tight shirt. And Casey was like, okay. But you do what you have to do, you know what I mean, to get to character. So it was so funny, and very much I was just trying my best and trying to take whatever they threw at me. But the whole audition experience was crazy.
That sounds insane.
Yes.
I mean, what an honor to be trusted to
Oh my gosh.
3 lead roles with that many lines and that many songs.
Absolutely. And 3 like heavy hitter roles in this production, and trusted not only by the team, but also by the incredible women that I was standing by for, that had to know that if they were out, the show would be in good hands. And so it is a lot of pressure, but it is also an honor. And to get to play all 3 is such a cool experience and so fun because it never gets stale. It never gets boring. And you don't know what to expect or who you're going to be on what day. And that's how the grass is always greener, right? Every time you're in a show, you're like, I love my part, but I've always wanted to sing this. And as the standby, you kind of get to do that.
All of them. You get to sing everything.
It's true.
What is the rehearsal process like when you're preparing to stand by for 3 roles?
Yeah. So generally at the beginning, you're very much just kind of sitting in the back, taking notes and watching a lot. I remember being very overwhelmed, just thinking, do I start with 1? Do I just start writing down every scribbles for all 3? And I remember I started that way and then was very quickly like, this is not working. And every now and then I would get pulled to do a music rehearsal, kind of one-on-one with the music director. But even then, it's always like 10 minutes here and there. You don't normally get a full hour, 2 hours like you need because they're trying to rehearse everybody else at the same time. So generally how it goes is, especially if you have multiple parts that you cover, you kind of watch, you take notes at the beginning, you'll have some individual music rehearsals, but then you kind of tackle one at a time. So for mine, they said, you're going to have a put-in, which is a put-in rehearsal that essentially feels like a show. You're in costume, you're in wigs, you're in all the stuff, but no one else is, and there's no audience there. It's just a run through on the stage so you can see what it's really like. But you only get one, and then you get a real show. So it's still very shot out of a cannon. Exactly. But so normally they'll say, hey, we're going to rehearse for 2 weeks, and then you're going to have your Cady put in, and then you're going to rehearse for 2 more weeks, and then you'll have a Regina put in, and then 2 more weeks. They space it out like that. So that kind of helps you figure out who to look at and focus on first. However, the crazy part about a standby is that you don't know when you're going to go on. So truth be told, you can have that in the back of your mind, knowing ish scheduling and what a timeline will be like, but you really need to be prepared always because, prime example, my debut ever, I went on as Cady Heron mid-show without a single rehearsal. Had not had one.
Yay.
And I had, yay is right. Very much, I remember being like, is this allowed? This feels crazy. But it very much is. That is a part of the gig. And it just worked out that we had been in tech and opening the show that they hadn't started understudy rehearsals yet. And thank goodness I was so obsessed with the show and the role that I had done my homework. But it came time that she was out, and I was the girl and no one else had learned it. So it's not like a different understudy could do it. And so, I mean, I truly went out there and hoped and prayed for a miracle. And you just know a lot of it from osmosis, from hearing it and soaking it up. So my first one, yeah, was Cady mid-show with no rehearsal. Then I had been in rehearsal and I had done a put in as Regina. So I'd gotten way more prepped for that one. But my debut for her also happened mid-show, which just
Oh,
feels
yeah.
crazy. And the only one that I had a full normal rehearsal, put in, regular performance was Janis. So, I hit the trifecta. But it's they do a really good job, and it's hard, especially in shows like this that are
Okay.
such big shows and have so many roles and so many covers. It's hard to carve out the time to give everyone all of the proper rehearsal period before they go on, because you want everyone to feel solid and safe. But at the end of the day, there's so many things happening, and someone gets COVID and someone else is out, and we don't have people to teach you. And it's crazy. It's just a game of Tetris all the time. But Mean Girls does such a good job of really valuing that time and making sure their understudies feel so solid, because swings and understudies and standbys are very much the backbone of any production, especially ours. So it was, yes, it was a crazy rehearsal process, because it kind of felt like I didn't get it at all, and then I got it later. And then to be Cady, stepping into Cady, it was kind of the opposite. It was like, well, you already know it, so are you good? It was more just kind of going over the intention for each scene and kind of a refresh and reminder. But yes, the standby understudy gig, it's crazy. You got a lot up in that brain.
Yeah, it's a lot. I can't imagine. I would be like stressing out.
It's true. It is a stressful job, but it is so rewarding, and you know more than you think you do. You have to just trust your gut and know that it's deep in there. It is.
How do you go about making such different characters who are all three-dimensional characters your own on stage? Do you feel like
Yes.
you had a lot of freedom as standby?
Absolutely. And I think that what was really helpful was that all three roles were so different that it kind of forces you to become this chameleon. And especially once you put on the clothes and the costume, it's impossible not to. And similarly, in terms of not just trying to be the person that you're standing by or understudying, at the end of the day, you're a different person. So you can try to, have a similar role and performance as they do, but at the end of the day, you're a different person. You're a different voice. You have different mannerisms. You're going to bring yourself no matter what. But our director and associate director, Casey Nicklaw and Casey Hushin, were both really, really incredible and supportive in saying, hey, this is the storyline, these are the things we have to hit, but at the end of the day, play. Like, this is where you can come out, and this is where this is your strong moment, and this scene is not about you. This is for you to kind of be the vessel to carry the storyline. And those points that they made sure we all as understudies and standbys and covers knew, but then still allowing the freedom to kind of fill in the blanks in the other spaces. So I was very, very lucky in that way. And like I said, when you put those, especially as someone like Janis, that's so incredibly different than how you look with this crazy makeup and hair and cool costumes, you just feel like you become a different person entirely. But I will tell you, to do a 2-show day, to start as Janis and then go into Regina is a crazy feeling, because they could not be more different, could not look more different, but it is so fun. And that is kind of the magic of the standby.
You're like, who am I
Right.
today?
And a part of me is like, what I loved most about being the standby is there are parts of all three of those characters that are in me and in everyone. You know what I mean? Hopefully, it's not the mean version of Regina George, but absolutely, I can be manipulative. And there are little things here and there, and Cady and Janis, that you kind of just have to tap into that side of yourself, or what that version is in you. And I remember with Regina just thinking, who was this girl in my high school? Like, I need to just be her, because we all had one. Same
Yes.
with Janis, same with Cady. So as you bring yourself based on your own experiences and kind of form this blend into your own version.
What's your favorite song that you sang out of all three of the characters?
Oh, I love it. Um, Probably World Burn as Regina George, because Either World Burn or I'd Rather Be Me, because both are so empowering in different ways. World Burn for Regina George, you just feel so epic and like James Bond, and you walk down center stage, and it is just this kill shot, and you look amazing and you sound amazing, and the orchestrations underneath that song are so beautiful and epic, and it's loud. You feel like a rock star. And then on the reverse, I'd Rather Be Me is the most liberating song I have ever sang in my life. To just stand on this desk in front of all your peers and people that you love and just be so stripped down and essentially at rock bottom, but really finding yourself is so incredible, especially in that role, because I was so nervous stepping into it that I didn't feel like I would relate to Janis, that I was worried that it would seem like I was a fraud, and like I was trying to act too much and put it on top of this girl who is so authentic. And the truth is, when you sing that number, you realize there is that part in every single one of us, even if you look differently or if your version is different in real life. So to be able to do that in this role that I was so scared of was such an incredible experience. So I would say those I miss the most, definitely.
I mean, both songs. I mean, Rather Be Me is like my jam out song that I listen to like on repeat if I
Yeah.
need to a couple of
Pump
days a
up.
week. Yes. I'm like, yes, I gotta listen to this on my walk today.
It's so good. It's such a feel good, and it's so self-assuring, and just it's amazing. It's an amazing song. It's like kind of an anthem.
It is an anthem, exactly.
Yes.
James Bond for World Burn. I didn't think of that, but so true.
You know what I mean? It's very, very like high intensity and mysterious, and yes, very cool.
So when did you get told that you'd be taking over as lead for Cady?
I got the offer. It was actually kind of a long time, not super long, but I had to be very hush hush about it, which was hard. I believe I got the offer in December, and then we did a lot of paperwork and negotiations and talking through and going back and forth. And I accepted the job in February. And then they finally told the company, so I wasn't allowed to tell anyone in the company until April, and then they announced it to the public in May, right before I started.
Oh my gosh, so you just had to keep a secret for like
Very
a
much sitting
long
on it for a long time.
oh
It
my
was
god, that's
crazy.
torture.
It kind of was. It was crazy, but it was exciting, and I just remember being so anxious to tell everyone and hope that they would be happy it was me, and happy that they were going to be a part of it with me. And it was such a special experience because we have such a family out here, but it was hard to keep it from them.
How do you think your performance as Katie changed from standby to when you took over as lead?
I think that I am finding more of myself in her now. I think I am way more settled. I think I'm able to really tap into the character more, whereas before you don't know when you're going to go on again. And in the back of your head, you're ready to shift at any moment's notice. Now I don't have to think about anything but this girl, that these shoes that I step into every day, and what that means and what that looks like. And so now I'm able to bring myself in my own experiences, but also in the days that I'm having. If I'm tired and it's a hot day and people are being in a weird mood, that will affect that performance that day. So it keeps it authentic and organic and alive, which is really exciting. And it's been really incredible to be able to find these moments and relationships with everyone else on stage, and grow in those, and know that we've kind of found this moment and we're going to do it again tomorrow, and maybe this will become a thing, or maybe this is some Cady's feeling this type of way today because that's how myself English is feeling. So I feel like I've been able to kind of ground her. I think it's more organic and more of myself, and I do feel like I have kind of found my footing in the role, but also in it vocally. I remember I used to be so nervous of this beast of a role that now it's kind of like a muscle. My voice teacher says it's like
Yeah.
anything else, you strengthen your muscle. So it's been fun to also kind of play with that and see, where's my voice tired? Where do I feel like I can kind of add some little things here and there to make it my own? So that's also a nice feeling, is just to feel like I've kind of got it under my belt so that you can then just sit into it and enjoy it and let it kind of grow from there.
I mean, can confirm because I did see you in Dallas. Can confirm
Yeah.
your shows are amazing.
Oh, you're so kind. I appreciate
So, do you have a most memorable moment from touring with Mean Girls thus far? I mean, I'm sure getting to tell everyone that you were going to be taking over as Cady definitely
Yes.
meant.
Yes, that one is a huge one. The mid show as Cady was a huge one. The no that one was huge. Um and yeah, I think also just everyone's you know what? You know what? I'm thinking as I'm saying this. We had one night. Yes, okay. The mid show Cady, the Cady announcement, and then there was one night in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We all laugh. One night in Tulsa, we got hit really hard with COVID. We were worried we were gonna have to shut down. We had all these cases. It was like spreading like wildfire through the cast. So they're trying to put band-aids on it and figure out how we can still do the show and how we can have covers and bring people in. And so they ended up flying Kyle Seelig in.
Oh,
They flew in Jake Swain. They flew in Ian Young. We had Becca Peterson. We had all of these Broadway legends that we knew. Every understudy we had on deck across the board. I was on for Cady. Kyle was on for Aaron. So to do it with Kyle, having met him and seen it on Broadway and know he's the guy and hear him on the recording, the whole night was crazy and so magical, and one that I will never forget. And then we closed for a week after that. It was one night. It was like one little blip and then never again. So one night in Tulsa is another night that I will never forget, just to be able to do it with Kyle, to see the way that everybody rallied around each other in every department to make this show work and cover for each other and figure it out. I mean, it truly takes a village, and we have such an incredible one here at Mean Girls. But it was a roller coaster of a night. Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's why I love live theater, because like you never know what is going to happen. You never know what kind of show you're witnessing, what's happening backstage.
That's right. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You never know.
It's so special. So I have to ask before I wrap up on Mean Girls. So Adriana has recently taken over
Yes.
as standby. Did you have any advice to give her when she came in to the tour?
You know, I did. We FaceTimed actually before she came. And it was sweet. It was really endearing because she was asking all the same questions and had all the same fears as I did. And it was a nice kind of reminder. And her biggest thing, she was just like, how do I tackle three? Where do I start? And I remember telling her, I had three Bibles, as I call them, and everyone made fun of me. I got three separate scripts, and I got them spiral bound. So I had a Cady script, Regina, Janis, and I was like, you can take separate notes. When you're on, you can grab that Bible. It's easier instead of just having all these scribbles in one book. And I was like, color coded. Janis can be blue, Cady can be yellow, Regina can be pink. Like, keep it clear for your mind as much as you can. So we talked about that, and then I told her, I was like, just be overly prepared. You don't know when they're going to throw you in. You are the girl, you are the call, and they've given you the job, so they trust you, and so they will call you, and that is an honor and not a negative thing at all. But the best advice I can give you is just to be so overly prepared that you're not constantly crippled with fear and anxiety, and you can actually enjoy it. And the only other advice I gave her was that it forces you to just let things go, and as a perfectionist that I am, I needed to be a standby so badly, because you don't have a choice. You go on, you mess up a line, you have a rough performance, you have to let it go. And you don't know when you're going to get to go on again. And you can't harp on it. You can't hold on to that, because that's just the gig. You can try your best. And if you go on again and remember, in the back of your brain, great, you won't do it again. But it forces you to just be present and in the moment, and just life goes on. But she is unbelievable. And literally as of last week, she's made her debut for all three, and she's so talented, and she got to play her hometown in Rochester, and it is so special for me to get to watch her be so young and just soaring in this role that I have so much pride, and we're very lucky to have her.
What a cool opportunity to get to like not only watch someone take over that challenge and to also be able to give them advice.
Absolutely. And also to share the stage with her, when she's on for Regina or Janis, it's so incredible. And yes, we're very lucky to have her. And I feel like I had the same experience being under Danielle Wade and MK Morrissey, who both had been standbys. It feels like you just kind of pass on the legacy and the words of wisdom.
Yes, for sure. And lastly about Mean Girls, why should people come see the tour? It's such a special tour.
People should come see the tour because, first of all, if they didn't catch it on Broadway, now's their chance. They got to come see the tour. Yeah. We're coming to a city near you. We're trying to make it a little easier to get to it. But just because it's still so poignant and relevant and such a story that people love the movie, right? It's kind of a cult classic now, and the show will give you everything that you want from the movie. It gives you all the one-liners, it gives you all the costumes, it gives you the characters. However, it also is just it's a feel good. You'll laugh, you'll cry. The music is beautiful, but at the end of the day, it's something that is still relatable. That is a feeling we all feel in high school, in our jobs, in life, of just finding where you belong and not losing yourself and trying to fit in. And so we have been really fortunate. We've had some incredible audiences across the country. We've had a great audience here so far in Baltimore. And we love it. People show up, they wear their pink. Yes. And it's a fun night for everyone of all ages.
You just look at it in the audience and it's a sea of pink every night.
It's true, especially on a Wednesday. There's a lot out there.
I can imagine. It's like all I see is pink.
Exactly.
So how do you work on self-confidence in this industry? Because like it's a taxing industry.
It's an incredibly taxing industry, and it is not for the faint of heart. And I'm not going to say that I don't get knocked down like the rest of us, because of course I wouldn't be human if I didn't. But you have to I think the biggest thing that I've been told is that you are the only one of you out there. And that is such a gift. No matter how many negative things you can tell yourself, at the end of the day, there is no one else like you. And that is a gift. So in any audition room that you're going into, you're the only one that's going to be like you. Whether you nail it or you don't, there's not another. So I really hold true to that. And I think that so much of it is knowing who you are and being comfortable and confident in yourself, then translate as a performer. That way, when you do take the hits of no's and rejection, it's not as hard to bounce back, because you have, and again, it takes a village, it takes a support system, it takes a lot of self-work and self-respect and vocal lessons and people to continue to teach you and better yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to just have the confidence in yourself to know that you can do it, because that is clear as day. When someone walks into the room, they can have talent out the window, but if you can see that they're so insecure, that's all you can see. And so I just try really hard to stay close to my roots, to my family, to my friends, to the people that keep me so grounded, that keep me confident in myself. That way the hits don't feel as hard. And then I also just remind myself that, I'm here, I have this opportunity right now. I may not know when the next one will be or what it will be, but like I am good. I got here. I made it here. People trusted me enough, my talent, I worked hard. So it pays off. And you have to just remind yourself, even when it feels like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, there is. You just have to keep going.
Yes. Performers are so tough on themselves, I feel like, more so than any other industry.
It's true.
So like you kind of have to like remember to be like, hey, like if I messed up on this like 1 second, no one in the audience realized. Only I could.
And also, hey, I'm a human, like of course people make mistakes. It is what it is, but you're exactly right. And I tell myself that a lot of times, especially on tour. I'll be like, English, I am in some city that I don't know. There is not a single person in this audience that I know. And it is a Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. It's okay. Like, it's not that deep. Life goes on. We'll get them tomorrow. You have to just, and again, that's back to that standby, just letting things kind of roll off your chest a little bit. You got to just let it go.
Exactly. So before I get to my last question, I want to ask, do you have any dream roles that we can manifest right now?
Absolutely. I am dying to be Eurydice in Hadestown.
Okay, yes.
Dying. And I don't, in terms of the casting, you know, I don't know if they would ever even see me for that role. But the whole show, the whole vocal score, it is so beautiful. I am obsessed. I would kill to play Rosie. I would kill to play Zoe Hansen in a production of Dear Evan Hansen. I'm sorry, Zoe Murphy, losing my mind.
Yeah.
Would kill to play Zoe Murphy. We talked about Wicked as a little bit of a mixed bag, but honestly, I would play anyone in Wicked. I would play Glinda, Elphaba, Nessa Rose.
Yeah.
But Eurydice is the big one, Zoe Murphy, and then I did a production of Les Mis a long time ago where I played Eponine, and I would kill to do Eponine again somewhere. Could be anywhere. Just want to do that one again.
It's going back on tour, I think, soon.
There you go. You know, I also, a dream of mine is to do something on the West End. So I'm trying to manifest that as well.
Ooh.
So we'll see.
Manifest all of them.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I love Hadestown, so I could definitely see you as Eurydice. I could see you in all the roles you just mentioned.
I would die for it. It is so beautiful. It is such a gorgeous show. I would kill to be in it.
It's so good. So good.
Yes.
So before I get to my last question, where can people follow you on social media to keep up with what you're doing?
Of course, they can definitely follow me on Instagram. It's at Bernhardt, Bernhardt. I have a Twitter, but I might as well not. I'm never on it. I'm so bad at it. It's very non-existent. So I'm much better on Instagram, and you can expect to see a lot of like show selfies and pictures and stuff from the theaters, but also a lot of like local coffee shops and flowers and cocktail bars. So you kind of get a whole slew of things if you follow me on Instagram, but it's very much tour life on a page.
I mean, and people can like, I feel like when people like live in these cities, they don't really know the cities that well. So
totally.
If you're posting like about like these like random like coffee shops, then they're like, oh,
that's true. And similarly, it goes both ways. And people reach out to me and be like, you have to check out this place. They have the best late night food, and go here. I'm from here. It's great. So it very much goes both ways.
Yes. How special. Social media is wonderful. Except, I mean, Twitter sometimes is a little.
It can all be a little bit scary at times, but if you use it for the greater good, then I think it can be a powerful tool.
Exactly. So lastly, is there anything that you want to promote, or you just want to tell people to come see Mean Girls?
Yeah, definitely come see Mean Girls. I would tell them to also follow. We have a page on Instagram called Changes Fetch. I would say definitely follow Changes Fetch. Changes Fetch is this incredible platform that we're using that Caitlin Louise Smith in our ensemble has really kind of headed up, that just highlights any sort of organization, volunteer work that we're doing, just trying to kind of have some sort of outreach in the community, especially as it's hard now that we aren't really able to do stage door and connect in that way and do as many things in person. It kind of is just a platform for us to lift up voices that are not always heard, using the following that we do have for the show. Because as much as we love our show, you know, there are things out there and things happening in the world that we want to make sure we also recognize, and use the following, like I said, that we have to direct the attention to that. So Changes Fetch is incredible, and there are all kinds of things posted just in terms of Pride videos to places you can donate and things that we're highlighting for the month, and local charities and things like that. So Changes Fetch has been really, really special, and Caitlin has done such a good job with it. So I would say follow me, follow Changes Fetch, and come see the show.
And I'll put all the links in the description. And I love the Changes Fetch thing.
It's really special. It's amazing. And they've done such a good job at it. And I feel like everyone has really latched on in terms of us trying to get its following growing. And it just feels like a way to kind of give back, and a way that, you know, you can still feel like a human and a part of things even when we aren't really home. You know, it's a way for us to be involved in the community even when we travel all the time. So it's been wonderful. And Caitlin she's amazing.
Such a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
The entire cast for being involved with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for joining me to talk on my interview series today. I'm so glad again that we can make this happen.
Oh my gosh, likewise. Thank you for having me. It was such a treat. It was so nice to meet you.
Of course. And I'll send all the links and stuff when it's up everywhere.
Can't wait. I'm excited.
And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
You too. So nice to meet you.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!